Hey guys, welcome back to AFK Journey. In today's video, we are talking about the most unjustly hated rhino in the world, which is Lumont. Now, we're going to be taking a look at this guy because this guy is actually making waves in the high deficit pushing. I'm not telling you guys to go rush and build this guy straight away. I do think the really high deficit land is where he works best. And if you are using him, you will be having to play manual. So not a casual's best friend, but we are seeing really high viability out of this guy, and I want to explain why that is. And basically, and we're going to look at some really amazing replays. Massive shout out to Reds over on Discord for hooking me up with a bunch of replays from this testing. Just quickly, in editing, it's Rels. I think I said Reds. Rels, massive shout out. The great information dump for me on this guy. So once again, I do mess up the name a couple times in this video. I do apologize, but Rels, a massive shout out. And essentially what's happening is as people are pushing into the higher deficits, we're mainly looking at whales at this stage, but free to play, we will creep up there as well. But when we're pushing, when people start pushing really high deficits, you find that the damage your damage dealers can deal just isn't enough to kill things. However, we have one unit that, in my opinion, is not working correctly because his damage doesn't appear to have a cap, and that is Smokey. Smokey's aura on his exclusive equipment after his third ult, it just seems to do fixed percentage-based damage without considering the cap on his attack that it is meant to have. I don't know, I could be wrong on that take, but basically Smokey is becoming the main damage dealer, and so what you're having to do is stall out until his third ult, get all the enemies together, and then you can go ahead and nuke them with Smokey, and that is the strategy. So often these teams are having you know, basically 3 healers at least, a stalling tank, and then maybe another type of support, whether it be healing, whether it be positioning and stuff like that. And Lumont is basically being shown to be one of the strongest stall tanks in the game at the moment, with the added advantage of being able to push enemies and reposition them into Smokey's range, and that is his use. So we're going to take a look at his kit here and explain why he's working well, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at some replays. Apologies for the quality, it won't be the greatest, but you'll be able to get an idea of how this guy is really functioning. So let's go in and let's take a look at his skills overall. Now, I'm going to start with his exclusive equipment because this is a very important one. He smashes the ground with his totem 3 times after receiving damage equal to 40% of his max HP. Now, to my understanding, and this is what Reds was telling me, essentially it looks like this is just total damage based that he takes that's based on his max HP. So if it is shielded, it still looks like it is counting to this. So basically once he loses that, and obviously it's accumulative, so you know he can be getting healed through it. He doesn't have to like lose the whole 40% and stay below it. It's just a cumulative damage taken. And then he'll smash the ground 3 times, dealing damage to enemies within 1, 2, and 3 tiles in that order, and reducing their attack by 25% for 6 seconds. This attack reduction, really nice for mitigating damage when you're at high deficits where enemies hit super hard. His third smash also knocks the hit enemies into the air, and he is unaffected while using the skill. And then an extra skill attempt is granted when a battle starts or if an ally is defeated for the first time. So this level 2 is a nice one to have on it as well for this effect. So as you can see, once we get into those higher deficits, he starts taking more damage, and you'll see this from replays, and he's able to basically just juggle enemies the entire battle, which is crazy. And once again, I'm not telling you to rush and build this guy because I do think he is a manual play unit. You have to play manually when you're using him essentially, and you have to be pushing high deficits. Well, you don't have to, but that is his optimal range. Now his hero focus is haste, which is always good. Then we have War Stomp. Lumont stomps the ground, dealing 240% damage to adjacent enemies and stunning them for 1 second, and this can be increased obviously with the skill power. But on top of that, when we get it to level 3, reduces this skill's cooldown by 1 second for every enemy hit. It's got a 6-second base cooldown. You can start stomping the ground and getting those little stuns really frequently in the right team against the right enemy. Then we go to this one. Lumont is protected by the totem ward. Basically, he gets a big shield that increases with adjacent enemies. For every adjacent enemy, the shield's value is increased by 30%. Also, his physical defense of 2 closest allies is increased by 30% for 7 seconds. This is also nice because, as you'll see in some of these replays, sometimes you maybe teleport Smokey to the back row of the enemy team with your Rainier, and then he can start protecting Smokey better because he also has a taunt in his ultimate. He has the attack reduction, he has the control, and is quite synergistic. Then we have this one here, which is his ultimate. Selects the tile. Selects a tile in range and charges at it, knocking enemies in his path towards the select tile. When he reaches the selected tile, Lumont deals X damage to all surrounding enemies and taunts them for 3 seconds. It goes up to 4 seconds. He's unaffected while using the skill. Now, this taunt is once again another fantastic thing that you can get, but also the charge through is great for positioning where enemies are. And this skill is one of the main reasons why he is a manual play unit, because often this can work against you if you leave him on auto play. So that is Lumont. Now let's go ahead and let's take a look at some of these replays and show you guys what we are dealing with. So once again, a massive shout out to Reds for sharing these replays. I do apologize about the quality, but you'll still get the idea. So in this team here, you can see, wait, is this the first one I was going to show you guys? Yeah, let's just show you guys this one and we'll see which one it was. Okay, so this one shows a massive benefit of being able to reposition allies with him. So as you can see, when he goes up there, the enemies are up there. You got Smokey down the back. We do have Iron in this team, and he is playing on manual. And you'll see the amazing thing that you can do with Iron is you can use Iron's tornado on manual to sort of group the enemies behind Lumont, and then manually use Lumont to drag them into Smokey's range. And then you also have Smokey on range on manual, so you don't use his third ultimate until they're in range. So there goes the Iron ult to drag them closer. Then Lumont drags them even closer. Now they're in range of Smokey, and Smokey can go ahead and kill them all. So that is a really cool strategy that I absolutely love, using the Iron to reposition them into the range of him so that he can do it. Let's go back a couple more actually. Let's go back to the first one in my list. I don't even know how many I had in my list. Okay, so this is another one. So what one is this? Okay, so this one is with a Carolina. And this one I want to show you guys because if you've used Carolina Iron teams, you know how much damage Carolina does. But this is like the crazy thing is watch the damage of Carolina and then just watch the damage that Smokey pours out in the matter of 10 seconds when he uses his third ultimate. And this is where you see how ridiculous Smokey is. So once again, we're going to go with the group. And this one's making, once again, good use of Iron. Iron on manual play so you can reposition enemies to where you want them to be is absolutely fantastic. But as you can see, like, they're grouped up. Carolina's doing her damage. Enemies are not losing any HP. They are staying super healthy. Like, they're almost down towards about 50% now. They're getting there. Smokey pops and just everything melts. Everything absolutely melts. So you can see that damage difference between what Smokey can do and Carolina can do. Now at lower deficits, Carolina does more than this. Wait, let's just go back. At lower deficits, Carolina will be doing more because you have just more damage throughput at lower deficits. But once you get into these higher deficits, Smokey's damage just continues to scale, whereas others don't. So that's what we're looking at there. This one is actually a really interesting replay that I loved, where he makes use of Niru. Now, Niru is upgraded, so Niru has the exclusive equipment, and puts the lantern straight on Smokey, because he knows Smokey's going to die to a wolf, but then Smokey comes straight back because we've got the Niru play on it. So I think this one was a really cool strategy. And mad respect to this strategy. So as you can see, Smokey dying instantly, but he had the lantern on him from Niru. So now Smokey is back, and you can see he's in the spectral green form. And so Smokey is now fine and surviving and still playing as usual. And this one, you didn't need to use any repositioning, but you can see the juggling that he is managing to do. But this one, I think, was more of a great demonstration of the effectiveness of that Niru play when you're in a pinch. And there you go. Now you get the Smokey ult off, and then everything just melts and dies. And that is essentially the way the team works. Now, in these teams, once again, you're using a lot of healers. This one was Hewan and Rowan that we saw being effective in that one. Next team, team we are looking at, okay, so this is a really cool one. So this team has Rowan, it has Huon again, it has Smokey, so 3 healers, it's got Rainier, technically another healing type option, and then we do have the Lumont in this one as well. Now this one, what you're going to see is we're going to teleport the Smokey into the back row, and the idea is we're trying to keep Smokey alive. So let's go ahead and let's press play on this one. So we're going to go ahead. There you go. You can see Smokey is in the back row. So now Smokey, by the time he gets to his 3rd ult, he is in range of hitting all those enemies, which is what we want to do. Now we've got Huon and Rowan there because they have really clutch survivability. But as you can see, when we start doing the juggling with Lumont, it is going to be reducing those enemies' attack as well, which is really handy. Also, he is buffing the defense of the Smokey in there. Now Smokey gets really close to dying here. Once again, we are lucky we've got the Huon in there as well. Rowan has already died. So you can see Lumont doing the juggling. He then charges forward, and that charge, don't forget, has a taunt on it. So once he gets into that range of those enemies, he then taunts them, gives the Smokey more breathing space to live. Once again, there we go. Now the Rainier dies, which is actually a good thing to drag the enemies back into the range. And there we go. Now we get Smokey, and Smokey just does his thing, and he melts everything in it. Smokey does have the exclusive equipment where he's applying the stun there as well. But as you can see, that is the basic gist of that one. It was a bit sketchy in that one, pretty close. But once again, the job got done, and that's what you're looking at. I think I got one more replay to look at. So this one, once again, a similar sort of strategy. I do like the fact that we're using the crossbow chick, whose name I always forget in this one, but mad respect to this one, using the crossbows to get those enemies pushed back. Now this one is going to be a good example of using manual to your advantage. So you can see when the Beyblade spins, he goes into like a hyper healing mode. So what he's doing in this one, he's going to hold off on the 3rd ultimate from the Smokey. So there's the 2nd one, and as you can see, we're just doing some good juggling. There you go, punt them up. So he's not using that ultimate from Smokey until the Beyblades stop spinning, because otherwise they would heal through it. Beyblades stop spinning, and away we go. We can use that Smokey ult. Now we just sap the damage in, and enemies basically just fully dead, and that's pretty much all there is to it. So that is pretty much, I think do we have one more replay? I do have one. He sent me like a ton, and I just tried to cherry pick some of the best ones. So this one was a really nice one using Odie. And so this is where you can actually use Lumont and Odie together in this sort of strategy. But what you'll see from this replay is at these higher deficits, and this is stage 778, so this is earlier than some of the other replays. But you'll see how tough it is to actually get enemies into range of the execution with Odie. You can see, like, even though Odie, you know, normally you tick it up pretty quick, you get enemies dropping pretty quick. It's just hard to scale up that damage to high enough levels. And you can see how fast he is using that exclusive equipment and juggling enemies. But there we go. We get into range where we go ahead and we finally use that Smokey one. We get a bunch of damage. And now we've dropped a few of the enemies, and now it's just a matter of can we do it in time with scaling up those execution thresholds. He goes over, and now he's just going to end up just sitting there absorbing all the damage, doing some juggling acts, and eventually we will get the meter up there with Odie to high enough to where he will hit the execution threshold. So that is another strategy you can use. Once again, Odie, super powerful unit in general, and if you can go ahead and use him in conjunction with this Smokey strategy, it can be really strong as well. If you don't have Smokey in that team, you kind of struggle on time, just because the way that you can see there, that one finished with about 17 seconds left, I think it was. If you didn't have that burst extra damage from Smokey, you might have struggled to get that done in time. But basically what we're looking at is Smokey at very high deficits is like the one unit who doesn't appear to have a damage cap, and so abusing that as best you can is what we're looking at. Now when we look at units that people are using in this, like I said, Lumont is one of them. The other stall tank that is being used very heavily by Wales is Freesto, but from what I've spoken to some others as well, it's looking like Lumont is actually a little bit stronger in these situations, in this specific Smokey stall team. Lumont is a bit more effective than what we're getting out of just the Freesto himself, even with heavy investment. So it's very interesting to see. Once again, I'm not telling you to go rush out and build Lumont. He's a very niche unit for this application, and you do have to be playing on manual and get used to the playstyle. But just, I do like seeing some of these, you know, non-meta units getting their chance to shine and finding a spot to be used in case you do like the heroes. So that is going to be it for this one, guys. As always, thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day, and I look forward to seeing the next one. Cheers.